What's happening, everyone? Welcome to the Sportscast. It's me, Andy Grant. I've got Gary Judge with me from Across the Park podcast. What's happening?
Good, mate. How are you?
I'm all right. It's the first Sportscast of 2024, and we have got a new sponsor. It's IGD. They do sports kit, compression kit, your training kit, and they're giving you 25% off your order. All you need to do is type in Andy IGD. I want to double check that because I want you to get your 25% off. Yeah, it is Andy IGD at checkout, and you get 25% off anything on their website. We'll tag them. The stuff's boss. They do tracksuits similar to the one I've got on now. Your training gear, your normal shorts and t-shirts, gym wear, and more importantly, if you are a bit more of a athlete, let's say, your compression gear, which is ideal for obviously recovery, etc. So yeah, buzzing to have them on board, and some of the gear is boss. So make sure you check them out. Right, loads of sport to catch up, mate. It's been a couple of weeks. Good to be back talking sport with you.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, it is. Decent little break, but the sport obviously was thick and fast, wasn't it? During the,
it's one of them. It's kind of what do we cover first? We'll start with the darts because that was this week, and obviously you were lucky enough. Father Christmas brought you a little trip to. You were just saying first off the venue. You were saying what it was like.
Yeah, obviously if you get there in the day and stuff, and obviously when the tournament first kicks off, you've got the early afternoon sessions and then the evening sessions, haven't you? And then when it gets to the semi-finals, which is what I went to, it was just the evening. But we got to the area in the day, and we're driving up to where it is, and the taxi driver pointed out, there's at the top of the hill. I was like, wow, it's it might sound like a stupid thing to say, you know, Ali Pali and all that. It's just called Ali Pali. You know, it's Alexandra Palace, but it is a full-on palace in the middle of a park, but right at the top of a hill. So if you get to outside the palace in daylight, you can see the whole of London, and even at night you can see all the skyline.
I wonder what it was during the day, back in the day. Obviously a palace.
It was where the royal family spent some time, I'm sure, but it's within a park, so it could easily have been closed off. I think it must have been private land. It was private land.
Anyone who knows, let us know in the comments or in the DMs. I want to know what it used to be. Who used to live there?
It would have been, yeah, I'm not sure what royalty used to live there, because we went obviously to the darts, so all of the historic mentions were all closed off, and it was just all Paddy Power, which is not very royal. Yeah,
but the semi-final itself, good,
brilliant. I mean, yeah, up until the final, I think the game between Cross and Littler was one of the most competitive, and the standards of the darts in that match. You know, Cross's average I think was 103, 104, and he still got beat, 6-2. So Littler, some player, and the other match, I mean, I was on Humphreys from the start of the tournament. He was one of the favourites going into it, but he's had the best season, had the best form going into it, and his form just showing in that game against Scott Williams. He just wiped the floor with him, and he just carried that through to the final last night.
I watched the final. It was, my heart was saying Littler, but my head was saying Humphreys. I just think that the run he was on, Humphreys, like you've just mentioned, then he'd won, I think, 2 majors
three of the four majors he'd won. He obviously wasn't in the Premier League, which we'll speak about in a moment. But yeah, his form was the best. The finals he'd lost in, which weren't the major ones, the other PDC competitions, he'd lost to Dave Chisnell, and he played Chisnell in the quarters and beat him comfortably. So I think once he beat Chizzy, he'd been almost his nemesis this year. I think he thought, this is it.
Such a confidence boost, that, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. But again, the scoring last night, neither of them disappointed. But I think the surprising thing to most people who are watching it will have been how convincingly Humphreys beat him on the 180s. 23 180s to 8 or something, which, considering now going into the final, Littler was number one in terms of 180s, but he ends up blowing him out the water.
I think the style of play which fascinated me most yesterday in that final, how fast.
Boom, boom, boom.
Boom. Yeah. There's not, because sometimes, well, actually, you know what I done the other day? I went back and went on YouTube and typed in darts most memorable.
Watching the old.
Yeah, and I watched the first ever televised 180. And have you seen how slow
it is?
Oh my, he's like that.
Yeah.
One.
And that's almost harder though, isn't it? It's harder, really.
But you just see the standard, obviously, how far it's gone now. And just how, and not only
rhythmic, isn't it?
Yeah, but not only how fast they are, how much he'll switch from treble 20s to, he likes going to treble 18.
It's the mats,
and then he's going to treble 19, and it's just like, wow.
And that was the most impressive thing, I think. We talk about the technique and obviously handling the pressure, which is remarkable for Luke Littler, this is, but how quickly he worked out the numbers and how quickly he was able to react to maybe throwing a treble that he didn't expect, or hitting a treble or not hitting a treble and then switching. It was just, that was the most insanely impressive thing about the way he plays, how quickly he responded to knowing what to do next. His strategy during legs was just remarkable for someone at that age.
You look at moments as well, and whether this was his age or his lack of experience or just being unlucky, there was that moment to go 5-2 up, and
when he hit the treble, he didn't mean to.
No, when he's winning 4-2 in sets, and he goes for the double 2. That would have made it 5-2, and he misses the double 2 by.
No, but he wasn't meant to be on the double 2.
No.
He hits the treble 18 by accident, and
Yeah.
he went for a single 18, which I think was a left him with double top. There would have been tops.
Was it? Yeah.
A single 18 was a left him with tops, and he hit the treble by accident, which left him on double 2. And he kind of, it was like, whoa. But he should have just took a moment there and went, okay, I'm on double 2, and that's what the top rowers now. They'll take a step back out of the rhythm and go, okay, well, that wasn't past the plan.
Yeah.
Let's reset again.
And he just went for it.
Because you find, and I think I think I must have watched like every match in the tournament. The moments where like they have to switch from one double to the next, that's where they're the weakest. So if someone goes for tops and it's a 20, then they have to go down to 10 and hit the 10 and then 5. That's when they start chasing. Whereas when they're able to just walk up to the dartboard and they know what double they're getting and they nail it first time. Like that. So I think it's just,
it's when you're doing that quick math and you boom, but if he hits that double 2, he goes 5-2 up, and it's a completely different game. He misses the 5-2. Humphries gets back in it, and then ends up winning the next 5 sets.
There was moments of adversity for Humphries as well, though. I don't know if you've seen the bounce out where he was about to hit a 180, and the other dart come out. So he ends up with 60. He lost 120 points. Crazy. In one dart. So
he done a really impressive check out of 170 as well.
The best bit for me for him was the 2 108s on the bounce. Did you see that? He checked out with treble 19, 19, and I think it was double 16 or whatever. But yeah, love it. Absolutely love the darts, me, and this tournament didn't disappoint.
No.
And the next thing is now, obviously, I thought Humphries' speech after it was brilliant, because he was saying, look, despite how much I want to, I'm not going to dominate darts. This isn't that era now. There's so many good players in here. Like Dobie could have easily won that championship. Van Gerwen could have easily won that championship. He nearly lost himself to Joe Cullen. Humphries, he was a few match starts away from losing that one. He could have lost to Petrosky in the first round. So he acknowledged himself, look, I'm just made up I've won it, because I'm looking at Luke Littler going, how many worlds is he going to win now? Yeah. And you look around of all the other people like Michael Smith, I haven't mentioned there, Gerwin Price, so many top darts players. Gerwin Price put it on his Instagram the other day saying, the question is now, who's going to be in the Premier League? This is my lineup, obviously including himself. And he put Luke Littler in there. I think just based on, the commercial value of Luke Littler and what he brings to the table and the entertainment and the brand, you would take him all day. But, is there an ethical question of, is that right for him, to go from being in the amateurs and in junior tournaments to qualifying for the Worlds, to get into a final, to everything that's come with it. You've seen him make a few mistakes on social media and the way he's marketed himself already and the pressure he's come under for those mistakes. Is it in the interest of the PDC to protect this asset now and go, okay, well, let's not put him in the Premier League. Let's make sure that we look after him, and let's make sure that he becomes part of this elite group. Or do we do what most sports do, and let's milk the cow?
Yeah, I think the latter. I think, that's where the money is, and they're going to take him and they're going to have him there, and he will become, I think, the poster boy, whether he likes it or not. I think it does pose loads of interesting points that you make. The whole, does he need to be protected? I've seen some of the other pros that come out and said, the media need to leave him alone, because, we build these people up in this country then just to tear them down. We've done it with Beckham, with Rooney, the list goes on and on.
Raducanu.
And so it is an interesting one. However, you just look at it from a purely, just for him, you're thinking, he said he went from 4,000 followers on Twitter. He's got
500,000.
500,000 now. And even on Instagram, I followed him on Instagram. And it's not so many the followers, it's the people who are commenting on it. Do you know what I mean? He's got like all the big sports brands and the big media outlets commenting, going, unlucky mate next time, you know what I mean? Star is born. And I'm talking
they're all
big
over
people.
them, aren't they?
So it's like, I think, the Premier League would be stupid, I think, not to have part of it.
No, and I don't think it would be a doubt in their
minds. Like the
minds.
ethical kind of side of it, because it's going to be like...
And do you know what? I think what will be interesting about it, and what does make it interesting, you've got Eddie Hearn obviously right at the centre of it. He's the chairman of the PDC. He's obviously CEO of Matchroom as well. is he going to have a say and go, look, if this was a boxer, this is the way we would manage it? Because they are in that realm now, you know, the attention they get and the
and
pressure
that is arguably
there.
down to him, though, in the sense that, you know, I think I'm right in saying that got more views than the golf.
Got more than the Ryder Cup, more than the Ashes.
That is crazy. And let's be honest, a lot of it was down to this 16-year-old.
Yeah, it was. And I actually, when I went to the semis, I was saying to Jen, my wife, because I went with, and that's another one, she got into the darts this time last year because of the Michael Smith-Van Gerwen match, where it was the famous, both of them were on a 9 darter, and one missed and the other one hit it. But
I can't speak. I can't speak.
Never seen the likes. But yeah, we were walking up and I said, I don't really know what the crowds are going to be like here, because obviously in the second, third or first rounds up to now, it's all been like, wow, he's won, he's not, even though he might have been slight favourite or it was close, people are still wowed by the fact that now is it a case of going, well, Rob Cross, he was facing in the semis, I want Rob Cross to win because I don't know, and I weren't sure, but it was overwhelming, like 95. I was supporting Rob Cross because I almost, like, as a darts fan, I don't want him to just blow everyone away. I was made up the Humphreys one because almost for the, I don't know, the value of the sport, for a 16-year-old just waltz in, win the world, it's like there's something a little bit wrong about that. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
In a weird way,
disrespectful a little bit.
Exactly, yeah. Exactly.
But I think the test for him, and maybe we can go on to tennis after this because we just mentioned it, but I think the test for him now, although he didn't win, he's been propelled into this kind of stardom, this new fame. You know, he'll have sponsorships coming out of his arse. He'll have it all now. The one thing, if he goes into this Premier League darts and he comes, let's say, last, it's going to be like, what happens now? And I think that's where his own expectations have got to be managed.
And that's what I mean. That's what I mean. I don't think his profile and his brand is going to be diminished by not being in the Premier League. I think he can probably keep it up there by going almost the anticipation. Because the thing with the Premier League, you know, if you don't follow darts, you might not realise it. They're playing every other week. So it almost becomes, it's on again. It's on again. It's on again. There's Luke Little again. But if there's the anticipation, he's just in the major tournaments. And it's like, oh God, when's that coming up? When's he going to be back on again?
Good show, yeah.
So I don't know if just keeping him under wraps a little bit.
Like less is more.
Almost, you know, the PTC could probably go, yeah, lad, there's a couple of $100,000. You know, that takes care of the income you would have got from the Premier League. We still think the Premier League is going to sell out anyway without you. But we want to roll you out for these other tournaments that maybe don't get as much attention as the Premier League and as the World. The next
tournament's in Bahrain, isn't it? In a couple of weeks, I think.
That's always the first one.
You know.
Yeah, I think
he will do now.
He will do top 32. Top 32 most tournaments he'll be in.
I think as well, and again, this is where we'll come on to the likes of Emma, though. You look at his, and maybe this is a bit, we just spoke about it off air, maybe we're right or wrong, I don't know, but you know, he's 16, a lot of kind of jokes are made how he doesn't look 16, but he's a big lad, isn't he?
Yeah,
he's a big lad. And I know for darts, you don't have to be, you know, have a six-pack.
Just on that one, I will be a little bit gutted to not be seeing the memes every day about like Luke Littler's brother and Luke Littler's dad and all that. They have really cracked me up over the last few weeks.
But he's 16, like I think he's 17 next month, I think, or the end of the month. But he's big.
Look, on a serious note, I know he's kind of brushed it off and said, I'm not going to change, blah, blah. I get up at 12, I have an omelette, I have a pizza, I have a kebab, that's the way I live.
And a vape.
And I smash the vapes, yeah. Look, you know, as you say, look, a darts player doesn't have to have a six-pack. However, Luke Humphreys come out and said that he was launched onto he'd won the juniors, like Luke Little. He was like propelled onto the pro circuit, had a bit of a wobble, and then he got depressed then. And he said, and a lot of the depression when he boiled down to it was the fact that he wasn't eating well, wasn't sleeping well, you know, and wasn't looking after himself. He lost 4 stone over lockdown because he said, look, I'm going to use this to kind of get myself in shape and whatever. And
well, you've just said before about like maximising on, like, you know, on the mat and the quick thinking and the pressure. Surely if you're in peak physical condition, that's surely, I mean, I'm not an expert, but surely that's going to help
without doubt.
Your mental mindset and everything.
No, without doubt. You're going to burn out, aren't you, eventually? If your body's going to burn out, you're going to get sick above all else. You're not telling me that someone who eats the way he does and doesn't sleep enough is not going to get sick more often than someone who just is a bit more careful at what they eat. So I think the PDC and you know, his management team will be negligent if they're not starting to go, listen, Luke, I know this is part of you and who you are, but if you're going to be able to play in
bang on,
you know, 20 or 30 events and you're going to be flying around the world, you can't carry on like this. And you know, jokes aside, if he carries on, gaining weight the way he is, he's going to be dead by the time he's 25.
Yeah, it's unhealthy, innit?
Yeah, but look, anyway, just on the darts front, what an incredible few weeks and unbelievable performance from him, so well done.
So on another one who is at a kind of meteoric rise to fame was Emma Raducanu when she won the US Open. And then listen, we spoke about it enough, the kind of, and I'll stress again, I've never ever knocked her, I've knocked how in this country we build it up.
How poorly it was managed.
And so poorly.
Her progress was managed and her rise to fame.
So poorly. I mean, she was kind of touted as the next Serena Williams or something, do you know what I mean? And unfortunately it's not worked out for her. She's outside, I think, the top 300 it might be. She had a bad injury, a couple of wrist injuries, surgeries she's had. She come back, I think it was in New Zealand or Australia, it might have been, in a tournament. She won her first match, got really emotional after it, as you can imagine. She'd not played for nearly a year, I think it was 9 months. I was buzzing for her. And then she's got beat in the second round by, to be fair, the second seed, innit? She missed out on a tie-break, 2 tie-breaks. She won the first one, lost the second one, and then was comfortably beat 6-1, I think, in the third set. So you could look at it as maybe 1 step forward, 2 steps back, or hopefully she might look at it as just she's back playing again. Yeah. She was beaten by the second seed.
Good performance by all accounts, as you say. Yeah. Like, won the first set and
could have quite easily won. Yeah. So it's one of them. I'm absolutely buzzing that she's back playing. I just think a little bit like we said with Luke Littler. I just think her career needs to be managed a bit better. I don't think it's not so much her. She's proven maybe she's got the ability to be, maybe a top player. Whether she's got the ability to be the next Serena Williams, I doubt it. But it'd just be boss to see her actually having a fair crack at the whip. And
I think again the governing bodies need to just take more account or have more accountability for the younger athletes who are coming into the sport. You can't do nothing about a 25, 30-year-old, whatever, wanting to do what they want to do, or their management company wanting to push them in a certain direction. But when you've got a junior or a person that young who's propelled into it, they should be going, well, look, this is our kind of advice on how this should be managed.
Just Googling how old she's 21. It feels like we've been talking about it forever. She's 21.
Yeah.
The money she's made already. You talk at Luke Littler. Yeah, she's made nearly $4 million already. She's 21. Only just turned 21 in November. So you look at Luke Littler there, he's just made 200 grand.
Yeah.
On top of all the sponsorships. Who's managing that? Emma Raducanu. She's been on the cover of bloody Vogue and everything, whatever. Yeah. Buzzing she's back playing. Unlucky in defeat, but Nadal's made his comeback as well. Novak's recovering from a bit of an injury, but it's kind of starting to heat up again for the 4 majors,
the
which
big
is good.
Majors,
Interesting one, we'll touch on the UFC. This was kind of reported back in November, but it's come to light now because McGregor, he's just such an ego, and I kind of love him and I hate him in equal parts, to be honest, because
depends on what side you're looking at from, isn't it?
Yeah, because I love the kind of the showboats of the world. I love like the outspoken Mayweathers who back it up, the McGregor who back it up.
Someone who's making the most out of the status, isn't it?
Yeah, Muhammad Ali was cocky with his poems and confidence. Even like the likes of, Liam and Noel Gallagher, like the swag and like I love all that. But he does obviously do some dickhead things. I think it's pretty obvious. His ego though is obviously on another level. He done this whole thing of, I'm going to announce who I'm going to fight on New Year's Day. Everyone's like eagerly awaiting him, and he kind of says, look, he has a swig of his wine, says I'm fighting Chandler in fight week in Vegas in June, and then he says at 185, and then does this like, like this, evil laugh, and then everyone was then started making memes where Chandler goes to him during the UFC fight, we're going to fight, and he's like, you'll fight at whatever weight I tell you. Yeah. And he's like 185, and he's like, whatever I fucking say, and that's what's happened. The really interesting thing is though, you talk about 185 is huge. You think about he was fighting at, was it 145 or 140 maybe?
140,
I think it might have been
141. I think, yeah, around that.
So he's fighting an extra 45 pounds heavier. A lot of people ask the question, how would you get to be that big? A lot's been made out of the drugs he may or may not have been taking. Let's be honest, it looks like he's on juice.
Oh yeah.
But what's really interesting now is UFC and USADA had a massive fallout, and I think it was USADA who pulled away. US
Anti-Doping Agency.
Yeah, they're the ones who kind of pulled away and said, look, we're not happy how this has been managed.
The context is that their normal
testing pool.
Testing protocol is that if you've got a fight in 6 months, you need to start getting tested 6 months ahead of the fight.
Yeah.
So they've tried to enforce this with the UFC. The UFC were like, well, it's not been properly announced, so we can't do that. And they're going, well, he says it has, so has it or not? And they're basically trying to hold them to account to say, well, you need to tell us. If you're saying no, then that's fine, but he can't fight in June. They don't want to say no because they know they want him to fight in June, but they know that he won't pass them tests. That's the reality, isn't it?
So that's the reality. So what happens if they've now split, which has meant that the UFC are now with another governing body that looks after all the drugs, who have a lot less lenient.
Yeah.
I wouldn't want to say cowboys, but a few of the articles I've read, fuck me. So it's not so much. I don't think listen. It's not the McGregor show as much as he probably wants it to be. It's not the McGregor show, but I think what it's really interesting now is it now just opens. It pulls the curtain back for everyone else to go, how far can we push this?
Yeah.
And let's be honest, it's fighting at the end of the day.
It is, and you've been very critical, rightfully so, around how ropey the promoters and have been around, the drug cheats and the doping side of it in boxing. And my response, and again, it's probably starting to be a bit more sense, is boxing's been around for a very long time, and therefore there's probably more scrutiny on boxing. And I said once you start lifting the banner off UFC, you'll find the same. And I think that's very much going to be the case now. You're going to have athletes who are coming out in UFC saying, I'm not fighting it anymore because I'm not putting myself at that risk.
Yeah.
And again, that's fair enough as well.
Yeah, you think about how scary it must be anyway to go into a fight with someone who's trained for 12 weeks solidly to punch your head in, and then he's been getting injections every other week. I don't know how it works, but would that make him even stronger, even angrier?
Not being funny, and I'm sure plenty of boxers in the comments will be slating me for saying this, but more so UFC than boxing. Not being like, most boxers, even with the influence of drugs, and I'm not saying that, give me a chance with this, you can defend yourself well enough and move well enough in a boxing ring within the rules to try and keep yourself out of trouble if you're a good enough boxer. However, in the UFC, you're not going anywhere. You're in a cage. And they can rag you about. They can skull rag you. And look, the referees obviously stepping in. There's rules around tapping and stuff like that, but only an extra few seconds of them smashing their knee into your skull, and it's game over, isn't it?
Yeah. And the smaller gloves and stuff, like you're hitting with knees and stuff. I just think it's a recipe for disaster. I mean, I don't know how, if you're like good, you sad away, but from the outside looking in, they were pretty respected, been around for a long time. I think when something new comes in, it's always a bit.
Well, let's look at it again, like the business that it is. They've started off with this business model, right? Let's get the best people in to monitor drugs. Yeah, that's the right thing to do. Blah blah blah. Then they go, okay, well, we've got to this point now. We've got a chance to make more money from this show than we have done ever. We've got this hurdle in our way. What can we do? No one cares about that anymore. We're now established. We don't need that. US anti-doping agency. We can get someone else in. We're still not doing it wrong. We're not breaking the law. We're better, and they're almost saying we've got more clout than you have now, and we can influence our fans and our fighters more than you can.
And I think
fair play to US anti-doping agency for not backing down and going, we need this, because they're a business as well. They're an organisation that need the money that the UFC provides through them. So,
but I think as well, it probably makes me sound like a shithouse. But the way our view is, sometimes maybe someone might turn around and say, look, I'm not fighting him, he's a drugs cheat. There's that much money on the line. There'll be that many fighters who'd say, I don't care what he's on, I'm fighting him because the money's that good.
Channel will just want to know what the rules of the game are, I think.
And they're almost that confident in their own ability. They could say to Channel, look, you're going to get 5 million, let's say. I can't say 100% whether McGregor's been juicing or not, but you're getting 5 million, just don't want to fight him. One, the money will play a big part in it, and two, he'll think he can beat him anyway because that's just the way fighters are.
Well, the equivalent that you're right there. I think the ego and the arrogance is a little bit like being in a bar, right, with your mates and being pissed up and seeing some other fella who's pissed up, but he's been on coke all night, and him going, I want to fight you outside now. Someone who's drunk will think, I'll batter you anyway, I don't care what you, but the odds are the person who's been on coke all night's probably going to fill you in because he's not feeling it when you're punching him. Yeah. So that's what we're talking about, isn't it? Yeah. And you're almost making that same decision under the influence of alcohol or under the influence of your ridiculous ego.
And the money, and I think money talks, and I think it'd be interesting to see if there's any drug scandals over the next coming weeks and months in the UFC. we'll go from UFC then to boxing. What did you make of the Day of Reckoning in Saudi? Boxing Day, wasn't it? Was it Christmas Eve, was it?
No, it was Christmas
Eve.
23rd, wasn't it? Was it the 23rd?
Yeah,
23rd it was. I thought it was a good show. I enjoyed it. It was from AJ's point of view, it was the best performance he's put on in quite some time, and he looked like the type of fighter again who can take on anyone in that division. I thought Dubois' performance obviously was outstanding, and he's put himself back in the mix again. Put Miller in his place, which is where he deserves to be. But I thought that was a huge gamble for him, that, because no one really knows what Jarrell Miller's capable of. He had a reputation, obviously the drugs thing again was hanging over him, but he was certainly capable and is certainly capable of knocking anyone out. And Wilder now, you've got to say, he's done, isn't he?
Apparently, did you see Wilder's done one of the trips and done ayahuasca, didn't he? Apparently,
really,
and he's found like a new, a new way in life. A less angry way.
Well, you could tell that at the end of the fight, and he seemed to be in the fight lacking that bit of aggression, that bit of edge.
Apparently that's what it was.
Yeah, and how chilled out he was at the end of it, and he's like, look, I'm happy who I am, and I'm happy in life. And
been on the ayahuasca, lad.
Yeah, well,
it took away that killer instinct.
It did, yeah. And I think the Saudis would have been because we said it before, it was all set up, wasn't it, for them two to meet in the end at the ring and stare each other out. And Eddie Hearn joked about it before the Joshua fight, saying, "Well, that's our thing off the cards now that Wilder's been beat, but AJ's just got to go and do his job." And
I think just from a pure money point of view, I think they will be gutted over that.
Oh yeah, they will be,
because other money fight.
I even think Joshua was gutted about it, because I think looking at the form of Wilder, and even his CV, he's only really fought Fury. I think he'd have been confident going into that fight, and I think he'd have thought that's perfect.
Yeah,
it's a perfect step after this fight.
I think it was the perfect kind of fight for him to fight potentially Fury afterwards, and I think apart from Fury, for me, I'm a fair weather boxing fan. There's no big fight I want to see AJ in now apart from Fury. No,
there isn't. Obviously, he can't really fight Usyk again because that's done and dusted. You could argue for another domestic dust up with Dubois, but Dubois has been beat by Usyk as well. So is it just a second fiddle? Listen, I still think that'd sell tickets without doubt. Joyce is gone now. I mean, you'd like to see him. You'd like to see him fight Zhang, but yeah. I don't think it'll happen. I think it's too much of a risk and not enough reward for him to fight Zhang, unfortunately. That's the fight out there that if you were a boxing fan and you're just picking it based on form and based on awkwardness and how difficult a fight it would be, that would be the fight you pick apart from Fury, because what's worrying about Fury, and this is always worrying when it comes to fighting, he's just gone so quiet. When Fury's quiet,
his head's gone a bit.
Yeah, either that or he's buries himself in training.
What's the date again for it?
Isn't it March?
February or March? I'm still not convinced it'll happen.
Yeah, I mean,
what date are we on now?
Hopefully he's in camp mode and he's literally buried in it. But
it's the 4th of January, 10 to 2 on the 4th of January. I'm calling it. I don't think it'll happen.
Yeah, look, it wouldn't surprise me.
But what you've just said, I think he's summed up perfectly. He's so quiet on social media. Anytime he's announcing something or he's on it, he's on a treadmill. You big dosser. Yeah, you can't shut him up. But
I know, but whether he's, again, looking at it optimistically, whether he's gone right, because he does do that when it's a certain amount of time before he'll go, look, I'm shutting off, I'm off. But he'll only tell people he's doing that as well. So I don't know, I'm always a bit sceptical when
I hope it's on.
When you don't hear anything from the Fury camp, you're always a bit sceptical, aren't you?
Yeah. Mate, so we'll last one before we jump into the footy. You had golf, and the only thing on the golf I thought was interesting is great show, by the way. The
McIlroy's what's it called again? Stick to
footy, yeah. Great show, by the way. That
superb.
I think it's the best show on the telly.
It is, and the personalities you've got on there, obviously the Wright, Keane, Carragher, and Neville.
So they had McIlroy on, which I thought was interesting. Speaks really well, and
they were taking the piss out of him half, weren't they, as well? Which was quite good.
Yeah,
around the money.
Yeah, yeah. I
texted him. You just change your mind, no?
Yeah, 400 mil, yeah. What I thought was really interesting, and it makes me a bit of want to open up a bit wider. I think it's sometimes so difficult, I think, to be in the limelight, for example, and have an opinion, because the world changes so much that you can end up looking silly, or you can end up having to back down, and it's like. So the point I'm getting at
is like COVID, isn't it? We learned that
So the amount of arguments people had over COVID, listen to the government, stay in, do as you're told, and this will all be over. 3 years later, we're all learning that the government took the piss and we were all knobheads. You look at, and the thing I thought back to was Jordan Henderson on the whole rainbow armband stuff. Now, Jordan Henderson, as Liverpool's captain, he will have a duty as Liverpool captain, almost Liverpool's spokesperson, if you like, to have an opinion on things. So when someone comes up to him, shoves a mic in his face and says, as Liverpool captain Jordan Henderson, how do you feel, do you feel gay people should be treated the same as everyone else? He's obviously going to say, well, yeah, I think, gay people are just like everyone else, and I'll support them any way I can. As Liverpool captain, he's almost forced into saying that.
He's obliged to, eh?
Do you know what I mean? And then 3 years later, he's now getting slagged off by everyone, including me, for then, I don't mind him taking the money, but like he comes across as hypocritical. Now, McElroy, when this live thing started to happen, he comes out and he says on the podcast, Stick to Football, that he was very critical at the start of having to go at people for jumping ship. That is now his one big regret, that he was a bit too harsh on people. And I think it's so hard for people because you call something at the time, and because of social media now, how fast is it clipped up?
Oh yeah.
Do you know what I mean? If anyone was sad enough to go back through fucking all the podcasts I've done, that probably said stuff, and I sound like a hypocrite. But it's like, thankfully I'm not famous, no one gives a fuck. But if you are the likes of Rory McIlroy, I think I'd be scared to say anything, because someone's just waiting to go, hang on, fucking a year ago you said that you didn't like that, but look at you now, dude.
Yeah.
And I thought it was interesting. He's come out and he does regret being a bit harsh on people who jump ship so quick. And again, I think he's now having to say that because Liv and PJ are now in bed together.
Yeah,
so it's like,
I think to his credit, he's got dignity, hasn't he? And I think what he would say is, look, I was responding based on the way I felt, and I'm not the type of person who just hides away and shies away from my opinion, and I felt it was right to give my opinion and what I thought was the best for golf. As at the time, I think he was the world number one. So he's the player and the type of people that people do want to speak to, and they want to know why you not here. Like why? Like the big money. Surely they've come after you first, but obviously he was one of the first people to speak out about it. And as he said in that podcast, I've never been asked, because I've almost like.
He's talked himself out of it, hasn't he, almost?
Yeah.
It is really funny in the way the world's changing as well.
But it is like the jokes about it, but you're thinking about it now and you're going, so I'm going to be playing in the same competitions as these.
Yeah. But you've been paid 400
but you're
million
getting paid like 10 times what I'm going to get paid.
I think it was funny. And I think you're right. He's kind of owned it, and he said, look, I did judge them, and I regret it. But what was funny, though, is completely off sport. But I seen a little snippet of a podcast that Snoop Dogg and the woman on the radio said, Snoop, the way things are changing now, where the way the world is, and things we can say and things we can't say. Do you ever regret singing some of the songs the way you disrespected women? And Snoop said, nah, fuck them hoes. So some people carry on owning it, and some people are regretful. Snoop is not one who regrets anything he said.
Definitely not.
Mate, leaves us last part of the show then to touch on footy. A few bit of random ones to touch on. The Mbappe rumours are starting, as well as the Salah to Saudi. At the start of the season, again, we've just mentioned it, I remember saying I'd let Salah go for 250 million. What a stupid thing that was, because he's been on fire this season. Gutted he's going to be gone now for the AFCON. But it does bring into the question again the Saudi thing.
But I do remember when that got brought up, though, saying, would you let him go if you thought that there was a chance he was winning the league this season with him? And you were like, maybe not.
Yeah.
But so, I think that's a fair point to mention, is that you said it thinking that, is it going to make that much of a difference?
Yeah, I also said it on the basis that I thought that the players we've got, as in Nunes,
yeah, that's what
Diaz,
I mean. You thought they could deliver
Jota,
the goals.
And they have to be fair.
Doing well, isn't he?
Let's talk about him in a minute. I thought what's been great about Liverpool this season is, we've got strength off the bench. And you look at someone like Arsenal who've struggled scoring goals. The other night we brought Jota on, brought Gakpo on.
Elliot come on again?
Elliot's been great. Jones has been. I think going forward, they've got so many options. And I just hope when Salah does go to the AFCON now, there's enough there. Even not so much there's enough, but there's enough confidence.
I was going to say, I think it's it's one way or the other, isn't it? It's either going to go the way that it went with Spurs at the start of the season, where your Sons, your Madisons and whatever go, well, we need to score because no one else is going to score. Because it's always that. It's that weird dynamic, isn't it, where you know you've got someone in your team that is going to deliver. So it's like, that's not our place to do that. You know, almost step aside. You pass instead of shooting.
Taking someone on,
You take half. You take half a second more because you're looking for Salah to find him.
Yeah.
So
I think that game, that Newcastle game, was arguably the perfect kind of game for the rest of the players to think, you know what, we've got more than enough here. What was it, the highest ever XG? You know, we were unbelievable going forward. I think that's going to give the lads confidence to know that, look, he's going to be gone for a few games. No doubt about it. He is one of the best in the world. But we've got enough here. I think Arsenal and Chelsea are going to be tough games. But, you know...
Nunes got to do something though, hasn't he? He's got to start scoring.
He's got to, yeah. I mean, he's doing everything else that you want him to do, apart from put the ball in the net. You know, he's great in pressing. He's great in his assists. He's got a few assists. He's great in pulling defenders' way. He's making these runs. He's doing a lot of stuff right. But we brought him in to score goals. And I
was going to say, yeah, but that's all irrelevant to a certain extent, isn't it?
Well, I
think Neil Maupay was doing all that stuff for us.
It's not irrelevant, though, when he's pulling 2 or 3 defenders away, and that's giving the likes of, I don't know, Jones or Gakpo or, you know, Elliott more space. So he's doing a lot right. But I'd rather he just finish the things off.
I think the key though is the team is still under a lot of pressure while that's happening. If you win 4-0 and he wasn't scoring and he was doing all them things and the team are winning, that's fine. But the people you're talking about, your Jones and your Soboslais and whatever, they're not expected to get 10-15 goals a season. So playing them in to score or to try and score is not really, as you say.
Listen, I'm not saying anything away from it. He needs to score more goals because.
I think I'm saying that now because of the fact, as you say, that Salah's not going to be there. It's not. I don't think you're going to get. Again, I might be wrong here, and you can remind me in a month's time if you're saying this, but I don't think you're going to be beating teams, scoring 4 or 5 goals when Salah's not there. I don't think. I think
our games are. I think we play Bournemouth. I think we've got Arsenal at home. Chelsea at home. I think Arsenal away.
They're games that you'd expect there to be 1 or 2 goals in it, as opposed.
I think. If we can get
you're not getting as many chances.
If we can get a draw against Arsenal while he's away, I think, and we win the rest, I think we'll be okay.
Is it 3 games, is it?
3 or 4. Depends how far he gets, I guess, doesn't it? But I think the other big miss is Endo. I think he's been great in that kind of holding midfield. It's the Asia
Cup at the same time, isn't it?
Yeah. So the likes of Son and stuff will be going. But on that then, so I think the whole Salah, you know, whether the talk about him scoring his goals, going the AFCON, or even Saudi coming in for him, I don't think Saudi will come in for him in January.
Yeah, from what you hear from people who are reliably placed,
you know, we're in the running for 4 cups.
Well, what they're saying is they're definitely going to be coming back, but they're not going to be met with any kind of you know, accepting.
Which then brings on to though
the summer.
He needs to sign a contract because in the summer he'll have 12 months left on his contract. What does he? You know, what do you do there?
I said that.
Do you have a risk him going on a free or what?
It's hard, isn't it? Because like in his and his agent's selfish mind, they'll be going, don't be signing a contract because you get to the summer and whatever Saudi don't have to pay Liverpool, you're going to get that in your back pocket. By signing a contract, you're reducing your earning potential because the more they have to pay to Liverpool, the less they can play for you. So it's going to be an interesting standoff, I think, because I think
if Liverpool win the league, though, right? Let's just say if we win the league and we maybe win the UEFA Cup, the Europa League, and even maybe the League Cup, we're in the semis, let's face it, play Chelsea in the final probably, we can potentially win 3 trophies there. Big if, by the way. And Salah's got a year left on his contract. I know money's everything, we've spoke about it already on different other sports, money is important, but Salah to me doesn't strike me as the player who would, listen, I sound like an idiot, who would go for money. If he's in a...
Is he also the player that would demand 250 grand?
But I've got no problem with that, though. He's one of the best in the world. I've got no problem.
Why have you got any problem with him not going, okay, well, I'm just going to go for more money? If it's all about money...
No, that's what I'm saying, though, because I think if he's playing in a competitive team that is winning things... With me,
if it wasn't about money and you're suggesting I don't think Salah's the one who needs to have blah, blah, blah money, then he should have been turning around to the club and saying, I'm not asked about 250, 300 grand. Is it 300 grand a week he's on now? I want you to spend 50, 60 million on a player who I think is good enough to be, you know what I mean?
He might have though, might he? You don't know.
Do you reckon he was saying, oh, we're going to get Nunes?
Probably not. But my point is, though, listen, there are players that we could probably name 100 of them now that would go, that would go anywhere for money, that would go and play in the Antarctica if the money was right. I don't think while he's at his best, scoring 30 a season, he'll be playing Champions League next season. He'll be in with the title. I don't think he's the type that will do.
I'll tell you now. I think he's more likely to leave if you have a season like you're suggesting there. Because I think if he's won the league, because the last time he's won the league, obviously you weren't able to enjoy it. It wasn't the same. Won the Champions League.
You think it'd be like a swan song for him, just then go?
I think so, yeah. What else is there for him? I think his mentality will be like, what else can I achieve here? Numerous golden boots, Champions League, Premier League. I think he'll be really up for trying to win. Has he won the AFCON with Egypt? He hasn't, has he?
No, but yeah, but I think alright then if that happens, then it creates a weird one for next season, because he either then does another season, leaves on a free, or gets sold for less money, because no one's going to pay big bucks for him when they can get him for free next year. So
no. Either way, whatever happens, you need him to sign a contract.
I know. Which then brings in the other one, which I just mentioned, was Mbappe. Loads of rumours start linking him again to Liverpool. I think it's only Liverpool and Real Madrid. I was going to say
but I can't see anything but Real Madrid.
Neither can I.
I just can't see anything but that.
But these articles keep on drawing me in a bit. Then I start imagining.
Of course they do, yeah.
That's what they did with Bellingham. Look how that ended. So,
yeah.
But I don't know though, because Mbappe again, he got offered what, £500 million a week or something, and it's, I don't know, something stupid. To go to Saudi, and he turned that down, didn't he?
Yeah.
I think some of these players, the point I'm trying to get at is some of these players have got that much money already. I don't think going to Saudi is the be all and end all. That's what I'd like to think. Maybe I'm wrong though, because I'm fucking not a millionaire. So, but yeah, there's loads of Mbappe.
I think the Salah thing's inevitable. I think it's happening.
What's to Saudi?
Yeah, I think it's happening in the summer. Whichever way it goes.
He's only 31,
I know he is, yeah.
I think he's got another 2 or 3 years left in the Prem.
But he'll also have someone in his ear going, "You have a bad ACL injury next year, Mo, then it's off forever." So, they'll have other people in his ear going, "Well, look, Harry Kane's gone to Bayern. He can come back to the Prem in a year's time. I know it's not Bayern he's going to, but there's nothing saying to if they."
Well, lad, it's such a fucking. The standard is. Look at
Firmino. You're not telling me. I know, but
he's already wanted to come back.
He's been on the decline for a long time for me.
Yeah, but he even thinks it's that shit. He's coming back.
Yeah. But he's been that shit himself, though. I
think Salah's too competitive, and also you look at Kane and those goal scoring records. Mate, he's now 7th, I think, in the top.
Yeah, look. Yeah.
So Mbappe, then you think that's a big fat no as well?
I think he's going to Real Madrid.
So we got that. The other transfers I thought were interesting was Sancho. Looks like he'd be going to Dortmund. It'd be so interesting to see if he resurrects his career, because when he come to United, I think I've said on the podcast before, at one point United had Rashford, Sancho, and who's the lad who went to Spain, got fucked off, the rapey one.
The rapey one? Oh, what, Anthony?
No, well,
went to Real Madrid.
The United rapey one.
What? Went to Real Madrid?
Oh no, the Mason.
Oh yeah, Mason Greenwood, yeah.
So at one point they had Sancho, Rashford, and Greenwood, and I was thinking that's the new Mane, Firmino, Salah. And look, that's worked out for them, which I find bizarre. So it'd be interesting if Sancho goes to Dortmund and gets his career back on track.
I think he will. I think he will get his career on track. I still think he's a top player. I don't think he's done sounds terrible when you say it, I don't think he's done a Dele Alli where he's gone off the rails mentally or anything like that, or they just haven't been the right conditions for him to develop, and it hasn't been the right time maybe for him to make that move. He suffered from having a turnover in managers. The system hasn't really been right for him. I think he'll go to Dortmund and they'll just go, boom, you go play in that position as you were before. It'll be free flow attacking football. You don't have to come back. Just go and do your thing. And it'll then be up to the next, if you like, bigger team who's then going to go, okay, can we justify giving him that freedom that Dortmund give him and building a system around it? Because United have not done that, whether they like it or not. And I think, as you pointed out there, with the other players they've had to accommodate, and your Fernandez's who also demands having a system, built around him. You're bringing in like 5'7" defenders you need protecting. You're bringing Casemiro in. It's almost a perfect storm for a young talent and not to be able to develop him.
No, I totally agree. Yeah. The the other transfers then, before we touch on actually more the league table and how Everton are doing, is you got Ivan Toney as well. Do you think he'll make a move in January?
I think it's an interesting one for Arsenal, isn't it? Because it's glaringly obvious from the last couple of games where they've slipped up that an half-decent goal scorer, and when I say an half-decent, I mean a goal scorer that belongs in the top 5,
who's scoring 20 goals a season,
would have won the games for them. You know, particularly the West Ham one where they had a bad. I mean, both of them actually, both those games they could have won with a decent striker. It's just how, you know, aggressive Arteta's going to be with his requests. Whether he's killed himself at the start of the season by saying no, I don't need a number 9, I've got what I need, and he's gonna have to like deal with that. I don't know, but I think if there's an appetite there, I think Arsenal can go and get it done, and I hope for Everton's sake they do, because that'll relegate Brentford, I think.
Really?
Yeah.
But they've not had them already, though.
The sink in Brentford, though, we've seen the form there in like 8 defeats in 9 games.
But if they get 80-90 million for them and then sign a couple of players,
we'll see. But I don't think the market's littered with players in that.
How much just on that though? How much would you, if you're an Arsenal fan, how much do you go in for him? Because I don't think, as good as he is, I don't think he's 80 million. I'd say he's maybe 50 or 60.
I think they could probably get him for 60 plus add-ons based on, you know, goals and trophies and stuff like that. There's an element of risk, isn't there? Whether Brentford see it that way or not, there's an element of risk around, you know, the fact he's been banned for, you know, he's broke the rules and stuff, and they're going to have to accept that his market value is being diminished by that, because there's a chance that he'll reoffend. So
I think for Brentford, it's got to be, if I'm a Brentford fan, manager, whatever, you're saying to Tony, look, you know, we've stuck by you there, we're in a bit of a shitty situation.
I don't think Tony will be pushing it, by the way. I think he'll just be glad to get back to footy and playing.
And I think he owes it to, you know, stick with them.
I
keep
think
them
so.
safe, and then at the end of the summer, if a big move comes
I think so, and I think that would be the perfect solution for Brentford, because having the 6 months of him back scoring goals again, you know, re-establishes his value and probably puts to bed any of the rumours that he's not going to be the same player and all that. So,
and I think it keeps Arsenal as I pigeonholed them as bottlers, because they're not
completely out of it, but I'm more inclined to agree with you. I wouldn't say, I think bottlers, and I think that word was used last year, and Carragher kind of shot it down, because I don't think it's been,
I think they had it.
I don't think it's been bottlers. I think there were other games like Anfield where they could have bottled it.
I'd tell you what, when Liverpool bottled it, Liverpool never bottled it a few years ago. Man City won like 16 games on the bounce. There was nothing you could do. This time, or this last
it's only
season,
December, isn't it? If this was May or April, then you could call them bottlers. But they haven't lost anything yet, have they? They just lost a bit of ground. And the argument is,
but those big games, though, where it matters again, going to Anfield, doing something.
They done all right there, though, didn't he? Got a draw, didn't he?
I know, but
that's not a bad result.
But then after it,
well, that's what I mean. I wouldn't say it was bottlers. I think if you look at that top 5, every single team now has had a little bit of a wobble.
Have Liverpool?
And you aren't what?
Have Liverpool?
Well, you aren't pulling away, are you? You joint top. Oh, sorry, you're 2 points clear. I wouldn't say you've took the lead by storm, have you? If you're saying that City have had a wobble and they're 4 points behind you, and Arsenal have had a wobble and they're 5 points behind you,
I sound really stupid, right?
You can't say you blew everyone away, can you?
No, but you know what's mad though, right? I remember the games where we've dropped points, and I think back, and it's like the Luton game when we drew. That was a bad game, right?
So what's the difference between you, Jordan?
No, I know, but
not, so that's not bottling it.
No, you could say that, but what I mean is, though, it's mad how I think like the league is this season. It's great for the neutral, but like I thought we've played well. There's been a handful of games, you know, drawn against Arsenal. I think we should have won with the penalty shout. The Spurs game with the whole
Chelsea aways didn't play well.
No, it was a 1-1 draw, wasn't it? Wasn't good at all.
You could have lost that game.
Yeah,
by all accounts.
And I think Brighton there was a draw. The other games is and United, we should have beat United at home. So, but I can remember the games and I'm thinking we've only been beat once. That was the Tottenham VAR one. Do you know what I mean? So it's
have you not picked up any results though where you think a little bit lucky there to get that win? Because you can't look at it both one way.
No, probably on top.
I think. I mean, obviously, the only game I can really remember of detail is the derby, and I thought, you know, one decision goes one way in terms of Matip getting sent off, and that's a different game as well.
Oh, let's leave that there. Let's talk about Everton then, since you brought them up then. How would you say the festive kind of appeared. Because before, sorry, your answer, what I will say, which is rather unlucky for the Blues, is every time
we get beat,
you kind of win, every time you get beat, everyone seems to pick up points around you. And you went from getting that 10-point deduction, you win, I think, 4 on the spin, which totally, takes away that 10 points, if you like. And then you've just, I think, a mix of you not getting results and then everyone else getting results.
I think it's more the latter. I mean, you can't look at the games that we've had, with the exception of Wolves, and say we were expecting to win them games. Man City at home is Man City at home, and we took the lead. Probably give ourselves as good a chance as any. Tottenham, we were desperately unlucky not to get anything out the game. We had a bad start to the game, but aside from that, we battered them. Ridiculous, goal line clearance type of thing at the end denies us at least a point. We should have got more than that. You're going your XG and stuff, it was 4 our XG in that game, and we got beat 2-1. Look, the Wolves game, we just looked like we ran out of legs, and it was almost the same team we'd rolled out 3 times in the space of a week. So I don't think you can have that. And Deitzer said the same. He said, look, we played well against City, played well against Spurs. Out of the 3 games, we should have got at least a point, if not 3 against Spurs. We could have got potentially a point against City. Didn't deserve to get in against Wolves. They just ran us off the park and looked fresher than us. It's now interesting. Now, obviously, you say the teams down there have picked up some points. I'm more tempted to think that the points they picked up, i.e. the Sheffield United's, Luton are having they're in a purple patch, Luton. There's no doubt about it. I think it is exactly that.
If Luton win their game in hands, you're back in the relegation zone.
I just think Luton have had they had the purple patch. I think a lot more teams now are facing Luton and are giving them a bit more respect, and as a consequence, they're going to pick up less points. But what
I will say though about Luton, right? They played Arsenal, got beat 4-3. Played Man City, got beat 2-1. They're both games they were leading in, by the way. They beat Newcastle, they beat Sheffield United, and they were narrowly beaten 3-2 by Chelsea. So they've played, Newcastle, Chelsea, Arsenal, City, and they haven't picked up points against them all, but they've been desperately unlucky. Their next games in the league, they play Burnley, Brighton, and that's
what I mean. They're the games that are going to define them. Look, if they beat Burnley, which you would expect them to beat Burnley, and that's their game in hand. It's the games against the Brightons, the Bournemouths, and those teams that are going to define their season now. And we've got to go there as well. They beat us at Goodison. We've got to go there, and that's going to be a huge game.
I just think that their next few games are pretty winnable. Whereas Everton's next few games, obviously got the FA Cup, which will have been played by the time this comes out. But you got Villa at home, tough game. Fulham away, Spurs, City, Palace. They're your next 5.
It's a tough run, yeah. It's a tough run.
What's the kind of optimism like? Because again, I'll be honest, I thought, wow, you've actually done a Houdini, and you've.
I don't think it's changed. I don't think there's a genuine fear amongst fans that we're going to be relegated. That might sound naive and stupid given where we are, but I do think you need to keep putting it back into context and going, well, really, the way the team's performed this season is with an extra 10 points. That's.
Well, yeah, I mean, you're 12th.
Yeah, that's the reality of the performance and the level of this team this season. And if we continue to play that way over the course of the season, we will be okay if we pick the same amount of the points up. So you can only base it on that. I think the bigger concern now going into January is not the games we've got coming up. It's the transfer window. It's the, if someone comes in with, 60 million, 70 million for Onana, someone says they want to take Branthwaite, someone... That's the fear. If this team gets broken up in January out of necessity, as we spoke about a couple of times in the podcast, that's where you would start to have more realistic fears about relegation, because it's not the same team anymore, is it, that have picked up the points that they have.
And are there any more concerns with the rumours that there's going to be a second points deduction as well?
Well, if there's rumours, then there'll definitely be some fears about it. I mean, my only question around that is what's going on with the appeal then? Are you going to respond to our appeal before you give us another? And what's going on with any other team? You're going to investigate anyone else apart from Everton? So
they're too busy trying to dock points off you to be bothered about Man City.
So I mean, I'm very much in the camp of I'm never fearful about something that there's nothing we can do anything about.
Yeah.
Not that I can ever do anything about Everton's performances either, but at least you can try and influence that.
Let me kind of, as we're coming to the end, let me leave with a bit of a bombshell. My mate sent me this, right?
Oh, my mate. My mate sent me this.
No, listen. Do you want to know the reason I think why Man City's points aren't getting looked into?
Go on.
So this is from November. And I got told this November, but I might have mentioned it.
We've had this conversation.
Okay, but I've got the article. I know what it is.
Okay.
So basically, United Arab Emirates investor has been approached to take stake in the Sizewell C nuclear power plant project in Suffolk. Right. Ministers are searching now for new investors in the project, which could cost between 20 and 44 billion after removing the Chinese state-owned CGN last year due to security concerns over the UK infrastructure amid poor Anglo-Sino relations.
Owners have got something to do with that.
So now that the UK have said we're not backing China's company, Man City's owner has got a company that's gone in there with them.
So
you're telling me, right, where is it? Yeah, so basically, Rishi Sunak hosted, I can never say, Mubadalaz Khaldoom Al Mubach at a meeting in global business leaders at Hampton Court on Monday as he attempts to attract foreign investment. So basically, right, I'm not being funny, but let's just say football is our country's sport. The Premier League's our main thing. On one hand, you've got a guy who's throwing 50 billion quid into a nuclear power plant because we need investors. But on the other hand, he also owns a football team that's broken a few rules and are getting threatened with getting kicked out. I'm not being funny, but you're not telling me that he says to Rishi Sunak, listen, mate, I like this deal. Now, I'm prepared to give you 50 billion quid for your power plant, but can we have a word here? You're telling me that's not happening? Come on.
The only thing I would listen. You just level it. We haven't had this conversation, by the way. But the only thing I would say in response to that, if that was a conspiracy theory, is why
it's not a conspiracy. It's like
I'm not right. No, it is a conspiracy. That second bit, isn't it?
The second bit
is a conspiracy. Okay. Now, the only thing I would say against that conspiracy, if I was going to argue with it being, that being true, your theory, which is a very, very logical theory, is why the government pushing for independent regulators then? They wouldn't want an independent regulator. They'd want it to be fully under the control of the Premier League, who they could influence, wouldn't they? Rather than...
But you know whether it's... And listen, that is a conspiracy that I've just kind of, brought to light.
Unless the independent regulator is related to someone in government who would also...
But what I will say, though, is, listen, if Man City's owners are having a major say in UK and nuclear power plants, then listen, they're going to have more say and more.
I'm sure they are, but I think
just in things in general. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
Stuff, so
one thing I will say is you're probably going to be impacted by that more than we are. Obviously, in the first instance, it's us because we're the ones who are under scrutiny. But
maybe that's one. You want to know why Man City's points aren't getting looked into? That's why.
Maybe, yeah. Just give us a few years on this, Rishi. I'm really consumed at the moment with this investigation. Yeah. And I've got no time to put me 50 billion into your nuclear power. So can you just freeze this for 2 years while I sort it?
But that's all it is, though, isn't it? Anyone who doesn't, believe me, just Google, what's it called? Size.
I don't think anyone disbelieves the first bit. I just think the second bit.
Yeah, it's in the Guardian.
Isn't far fetched. It's just a bit like.
Yeah. So anyway, that's why.
That's why they're not getting it. But look, my point is not necessarily that. I think.
But let's just bring it to a level, though, right? Let's just say me and you are doing a business deal, right? And
listen, I think what you're saying makes complete sense. If we're
because you know what I mean. You on a mate side of thing. If me and you, I don't know, we're playing a game of fucking Killer Pool or something, and I'm trying to keep you sweet or something, and you knock the ball, and hey, did you just see him hit? And he didn't hit it. Like, do you know what I mean? I'm just bringing it back to layman's stupid terms, but it's just how the world works, unfortunately, and it's working in favour of Man City. Anyway.
Well, it's the way the world works with money and power anyway, isn't it?
Yeah, unfortunately.
You've got neither.
Yeah, I was going to say, I've got fuck all.
You've got no money and no power.
Just a couple of microphones I can gob off on. Well, lad, it's good to have you back. FA Cup tonight, do you think you're getting past Palace?
I mean... Based on the fact they've got Elise and Eze back and we scraped a 2-1 there last time, I'm not too confident, if I'm honest.
I mean, Dyche has come out and said he respects the FA Cup, but it's not
He played it down a little bit, hasn't he? Yeah. He plays, and that suggests there's going to be changes, which, I respect that. I think the performance at Wolves was probably a little bit of a wake-up call to how leggy that team is. So no, I'm not harbouring huge ambitions of a ever run in the FA Cup, unfortunately.
Arsenal, we have on Sunday 4:30. Tough game, obviously away. It's 50-50 really, innit?
Yeah.
Be nice if we could get through, but if we get knocked out the FA Cup, I wouldn't be.
I don't think. I think given the Euros in the semi of a domestic cup,
Mm.
you know, you've got obviously a European one. There's a huge priority, which is the Premier League.
Yeah. Listen, we go through great, but if I'm sitting here next week going, without the FA Cup, I'm not overly bothered.
Well, it'll be like Eze and Kessie scoring an hat-trick, and then them thinking they're gonna have to buy a striker, and Eze and Kessie going crap again.
Yeah, I'd take that.
Yeah, I was gonna say that's probably a result for you, isn't it?
Right, nice one for listening, everyone. Don't forget, if you're interested in checking out our new sponsors, IGD, type in Andy IGD on their website for 25% off. Just go and check them out on Instagram. They've got some good gear going. Don't forget to check out Gary's podcast if you're a blue, or if you're a red and just want to listen to them moan.
We get just as many people listening for that reason.
There you go, Across the Park podcast. And until then, we'll see you next week.